Hello and welcome to the latest episode of our WWE 2026 series in TEW 9. And today we have got WrestleMania Night 2. Our last episode, of course, was Night 1 of this same event, which was the female half of the WrestleMania weekend. This is going to be the male half of the WrestleMania weekend. But of course, we've got to go through the entirety of the tour that's just been taking place in the lead up to this show. There are also a couple of things from a business perspective I want to clear up from after the last episode, because one thing you might remember was that Big E was his contract was coming up, and I was basically going to allow Big E for his contract to lapse because I've got no real use for him ultimately. Unfortunately, I was overruled by Ari Emanuel, the owner of WWE, decided to step in and personally extend the contract of Big E, and so he is now with us for another 2 years, which is not ideal. Ultimately, he wants me to, and when I say he, Ari Emanuel, wants me to reduce costs. Okay, he's asked me to do it in the wrestling part of the roster, but I'm like, there are more important things, like someone like Big E, who I'm not using, and I'm using as a morale officer only, and he's not even doing a great job of that. So I'm like, you know, I don't need to keep him. And Ari Emanuel stepped in and personally signed him to a contract extension. We too, though, have signed somebody to a contract extension, and that person is none other than Sol Rucker. She has now signed an additional 3 years with the company, so she'll be around for some time yet. Okay, so those are the two bits of business I wanted to clear up before we go into the tour that we've just done. And we start with day 2 of the WrestleMania tour. So this is the even numbered shows of this road to WrestleMania are the male half of the roster. We obviously went through the female half of the roster in our last episode. And this day 2 of the tour began with Cody Rhodes responding to The Rock's challenge from Saturday night's main event, saying that he will face him at WrestleMania. And so it is official, The Rock and Cody Rhodes will face each other at the big show. Then, shortly after this, Legado del Fantasma had previously asked the Lucha Brothers to join them in their stable, and they came out here to ask for an answer to that question, and in this case, the Lucha Brothers declined their offer. We also saw Sheamus run in and quickly take Bron Breakker out with a broad kick and escape through the crowd after the Vision had defeated the New Day in a 6-man tag match. Gunther cut a promo where he told Randy Orton that their war is far from over, and then Reigns and his new bloodline brethren defeated CM Punk, AJ Styles, LA Knight, Sami Zayn, and R-Truth in a 10-man tag main event, which was a 74 rated match. So day 4 of the road to WrestleMania saw, first of all, the Lucha Brothers get attacked by Legado del Fantasma after they had beaten Los Garza. Santos Escobar joined Los Garza, and the three of them attacked the Lucha Brothers and beat them down. In 6-man tag action, LA Knight and Fraxium took on the Street Profits, but in strange circumstances, LA Knight helped the Street Profits win the match and then embraced the other members of the Street Profits after the match, seemingly positioning himself alongside the Street Profits now going forward. We also saw the Judgment Day bicker about who is the leader of the faction before their match against the European Union, in which they lost to Ilya Dragunov, Rusev, Ludwig Kaiser, and Aleister Black in this one. The endless story of who the leader of the Judgment Day is continues on. And then we also had CM Punk telling Roman Reigns to leave his family in the back when he comes out to face him at WrestleMania. Then on day 6 of the tour, The Rock started the show, cutting a promo reminiscing about the career that he's had, but says that beating Cody at WrestleMania will be far and away the best moment of his entire career and the one that he will finish it on. We also saw LA Knight cut a promo alongside his Street Profits stablemates, and he says the Street Profits are now stronger than ever, and he is going to be a true leader at the helm of that group. We also saw Sheamus defeat Omos in a singles match, in which Bron Breakker, after the match, speared Sheamus and left him lying on the ground. For day of the road to WrestleMania, we saw Randy Orton challenge Gunther to one more match at WrestleMania, and this was later confirmed to be uh, confirmed to be accepted. So Orton and Gunther will face one another at the show. The Street Profits won a four-way dance to be the new number one contenders to the tag team titles, also in the match with the Motor City Machine Guns, Fraxium, and the New Catch Republic. And finally, Roman Reigns told CM Punk not to talk about his family like he did on a recent show. Day 10 of the tour saw the Creed brothers beat the Motor City Machine Guns with the help of the returning Chad Gable. And after the match, Chad Gable said that he's back from injury, and from here the sun will shine on American Alpha. In a singles match, Obafemi defeated Xavier Woods and then fended off the attack of both Kofi Kingston and Grayson Waller, the other members of the New Day, after the match. Sheamus got another singles victory against the member of the Vision when he defeated Logan Paul in one-on-one action. After the match, Paul Heyman challenged Sheamus to face Bron Breakker at WrestleMania. And finally, Jey Uso won a four-way match to become the new number one contender to the IC title. Also included in the match were the previous US champion Ilya Dragunov, Bronson Reed, and AJ Styles. On day 12 of the tour, Drew McIntyre and Apollo Crews defeated the New Catch Republic in tag team action. And then after the match, continued to try and attack the New Catch Republic until Shinsuke Nakamura came out and made the save. Rey Mysterio Jr. cut a promo saying he wants to unite the luchadors in WWE to show that they have true power within the company. And finally, after an 8-man tag match, Jey Uso tells Dominic Mysterio he's coming for the IC title at WrestleMania. And then on the final night of the tour, first of all, we had Rey Mysterio Jr. facing Ludwig Kaiser in the opener. After the match, after Mysterio had won, the EU attempted to attack Rey, but Rey Mysterio Jr. was first of all backed up by his own stablemates, the LWO. Then the LDF, the Legado del Fantasma, joined them as well, as did the Lucha Bros, and all 9 luchadors looked on as the EU backed away at the strength of the LWO stable. We also saw the Street Profits and the Wyatt Six get into a wild brawl after a singles match between Montez Ford and Dexter Lumis. Of course, this ahead of the Street Profits taking on Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy at WrestleMania for the tag belts. We saw Sheamus and Bron Breakker get into a big brawl, which had to be separated by security and officials when Sheamus called out Bron Breakker. And also, Drew McIntyre says that he's going to take out Shinsuke Nakamura once and for all at Mania. So a whole bunch of stuff in there. As usual, I've gone through the stuff that actually matters in terms of stories, but there are loads of other matches to keep everybody hot, keep everyone moving forward. And so that's where we are. That is everything. You're bang up to date ahead of WrestleMania. Now let's go and just talk about the matches that we've got, specifically the big ones. So first of all, the world title match, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. I've decided that this will be the main event, despite the fact that we've got another really massive match on the show. This will be the headlining contest, and I guess that's appropriate given that this is for the only world title in the men's division. That other big match that I talked of was The Rock versus Cody Rhodes. And the reason I've decided not to put this in the main event slot is I simply don't know how good The Rock is going to be in the ring. So I've been keeping to the rule that we made some time ago about the fact that I'm not going to use wrestlers an unrealistic amount of times. And I really feel like if The Rock's going to have a match, he'll have one match and that's it. So I did consider putting him into a sort of 8-man tag match on one of the tour shows just to see how good he was. But I just didn't think it would be realistic for The Rock to have another match. So The Rock will face Cody Rhodes, and it's a bit unknown how good that one is going to be. We've also got Gunther versus Randy Orton in the third match in their series. They, of course, started this feud all the way back in one of the qualifying matches for the Royal Rumble, which Randy Orton won, and afterwards Gunther attacked Orton. Then they faced each other again at Saturday night's main event in what went to a time limit draw, and so this one will be the rubber match between the two in some ways. Gunther versus Randy Orton will also take place at WrestleMania. In another one of the big feuds, Sheamus will face Bron Breakker. Sheamus has been having problems with the Vision since the beginning of the save, and now he faces perhaps their biggest threat in Breakker. And finally, the Intercontinental title match, Dominic Mysterio defending against Jey Uso in another big match. Jey Uso, of course, earning that title shot in the four-way match, and Mysterio previously having unified the IC and US titles at Saturday night's main event against Ilya Dragunov. In other matches that are going to take place at WrestleMania, we've also got Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy defending the tag team titles against the Street Profits. Drew McIntyre against Shinsuke Nakamura in another singles match between those two. We've got the new improved LWO, the big stable of 9 wrestlers. So 4 of them will be facing the European Union in a match. It'll be Rey Mysterio, Penta, Rey Fenix, and Santos Escobar against the EU. We've got the American Alpha against AJ Styles and the Motor City Machine Guns. We have got Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa against Angel Berto, Cruz del Toro, Dragon Lee, and Wack and Wild, 5 of the other 5 members of the LWO. And we're going to have a 20-man battle royal, which will see Austin Theory, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, Sami Zayn, Damian Priest, LA Knight, Trick Williams, Obafemi, JD Madonna, Finn Balor, Apollo Crews, Carmelo Hayes, The Miz, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, R-Truth, Johnny Gargano, Tyler Bate, Pete Dunne, and Omos all take part. And so that is everything for me before our show. So after this very quick cut, we will be on WrestleMania Night 2. Welcome then to this WrestleMania Night 2. We are at the Alumni Stadium in New England with a crowd of 39,733. I was hoping and expecting for a little bit more than that, to be honest, but that's what we've got. And we start with a battle royal, as is pretty customary for WWE. This is an attempt to get everybody on the show because we've got a huge roster, and this was really the only way to do it. And there's still 11 men who missed out, unfortunately. Also, unfortunately, in this match, Pete Dunne sustained a broken nose. And in addition to that, LA Knight was not happy about the way this was booked. He was kicked up a massive fuss. But that's because Obafemi was booked to win the Battle Royal in 20 minutes, 48 seconds. Omos was the first eliminated, then Tyler Bate, then R-Truth, then Austin Theory, then Trick Williams, then JD Madonna, then Apollo Crews, Pete Dunne, Kofi Kingston, Carmelo Hayes, Johnny Gargano, Xavier Woods, The Miz, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Logan Paul, LA Knight, Bronson Reed, and finally Sami Zayn. But Omofemi picks up a massive victory in this opening contest. So in the first proper match of the night, we have the 6-man tag match as American Made take on AJ Styles and the Motor City Machine Guns. And Styles and the Motor City Machine Guns get the victory in 13-13 when AJ Styles pins Bruce Creed. For a segment rating of 58, Chad Gable did an in-ring performance of 70 and AJ Styles was 74 here. Chris Sabin was off his game, and that meant that he only did a 48, but everybody else over 50. So this was a pretty decent contest, all considered. Then Drew McIntyre faced Shinsuke Nakamura, the first singles match of the night. McIntyre gets the win in 12-18 with a Claymore kick following interference from Apollo Crews. So once again, Drew McIntyre and Apollo Crews, this alliance that they've got called the Warriors, has got Drew McIntyre a big victory. A segment rating of 62 here. Drew McIntyre 71, Nakamura a 55, although Nakamura was also off his game in this one. After the match, McIntyre and Apollo Crews continue to beat on Shinsuke Nakamura, but then making the save is the debuting Konosuke Takeshita, which got his alpha gimmick got an initial rating of great, a segment rating here of 66. Apollo Crews may have been underwhelming, but it appears that Takeshita was not. So Takeshita comes out, makes the save. The crowd are hot and rising at the end of this segment as Konosuke Takeshita makes his surprise debut for the WWE. This is the first big signing that I've made as the head of WWE and hoping for big things from Konosuke Takeshita in the future. Then the next match was a 49 rated match, which is a disappointment here, as the Bloodline overcame Latino World Order. This was really, though, the B teams of each of these two stables. Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa against Angel Berto, Cruz del Toro, Dragon Lee, and Joaquin Wild. Of course, the LWO now, a 9-person a stable, and the Bloodline got the victory here in 10 minutes 23 seconds when Jacob Fatu pinned Berto with a Samoan drop. As I said, segment rating of 49, but there were some poor performances in here, including Tongaloa, just a 39 performance. Actually, everyone else was pretty decent. He was a bit of a drag on this one. But things improved again in the next match as Dominic Mysterio faced Jey Uso in a match for the Intercontinental title. And Dominic Mysterio, illegally using the ropes for leverage, gets the victory in 13:38 by pinfall. This only did a segment rating of 61, despite performances higher than that and a crowd rating better than that, because we put a creative finish in for this one that Dominic Mysterio himself came up with, and it was unfortunately a failure. But nevertheless, Dominic Mysterio gets the win, and a big win over Jey Uso to defend the Intercontinental title in this one. Crowd remain hot at the end of this. And segment rating of 59 for the tag team title match as the Street Profits faced the Wyatt Six in an overbooked contest with interference coming from LA Knight, Trick Williams, Uncle Howdy, and Eric Rowan. But the upshot of everything was that in 11 minutes and 16 seconds, Angelo Dawkins pinned Dexter Lumis, and the Street Profits take the WWE World Tag Team titles. Segment rating of 59. Montez Ford was a 64 and Dawkins a 57. One of the big kind of elements of this match was that Dexter Lumis's contract is due to expire very soon, and I decided there was no real point in me renewing it. I'm not actually at all interested in continuing the Wyatt Six. They just happened to be in this position because they were one of two tag teams when I started the game that held tag team titles, and I wanted to get AJ Styles and Dragon Lee away from one another. And so the Wyatt Six had to win that match, but they've now lost the titles as well. So the tag team belts are now in the possession of a team that I prefer, and I'm happy with being in that position. So this has kind of got me to a point where I've resolved the tag team title issue that we've been having since the beginning of the save. But nevertheless, the Street Profits are the tag team champions. So next up, Sheamus took on Bron Breakker in a match that I was hoping to be a little bit better than this. A segment rating of 62, with Bron Breakker winning in 12:32 by pinfall with a Gorilla Press power slam. Bron Breakker getting the clean victory against his rival Sheamus, and the Vision's rival against Sheamus. And I guess, look, we are in a position where I want to start putting over some of the younger names, and that's why Breakker takes a clean victory here against Sheamus, despite Sheamus being in amazing form. The next match was an 82 rated match. Now, this is much more like a white hot crowd near the end of this one. Gunther beating Randy Orton in 16 minutes and 10 seconds by pinfall with a lariat. Now, this benefited from a storyline that was already super hot, and that's why it was a really big contest, I think. Randy Orton did an in-ring performance of 70, Gunther a 75, another clean victory for one of the younger stars, Gunther getting the victory in this one. But a very, very good match indeed. One of the best we've had so far in the save. Does that bode well for the rest of the show? I'm actually really nervous because we need this to be a good show overall, one that increases our popularity rather than reduces it. Well, after the match, Randy Orton cut a promo where he said that basically something has to change in WWE. After having lost the match, he kind of takes a bit of time to recover and then grabs the mic and says something has got to change in WWE, and he is the man to enact that change. Next up, we had a bit of a cool-off match, really, with the Latino World Order taking on the European Union. This is the A team, though, of the LWO. Rey Fenix, Rey Mysterio, Penta, and Santos Escobar beat Rusev, Ilya Dragunov, Ludwig Kaiser, and Aleister Black in 10 minutes and 19 seconds when Penta pins Ludwig Kaiser. A segment rating of 61, Escobar just a 49, but everyone else is pretty decent in this one, with Ilya Dragunov at 67, Rey Mysterio at 62, and a good victory for the LWO, who seem like they might be a force going forward in the company. So we've got just the two big matches left on the show. And the first of those is Cody Rhodes versus The Rock for an 84 segment rating here. And they draw following a double countout in 13:45. This went to a double countout because The Rock basically vetoed my attempts to have Cody win this one. He wasn't happy. He's the one person who has creative control and decided that he wasn't doing the job on this night. And so this had to go to a double countout because I really didn't want Cody losing it. Cody had a 79 in-ring performance, The Rock a 72. The Rock also seemed off his game, which was a shame. It couldn't go longer than 14 minutes either because The Rock was going to struggle with that length of a match. but still a very, very good segment rating of 84 with a hot, very hot crowd at the end of it. And Cody Rhodes draws with The Rock here. Now they continue to fight after the match, and this results in Randy Orton coming to the ring and it not being clear who he's gonna take out. As he looks at Cody, looks at The Rock, he then looks as if he's going to go after Cody, then turns around and RKO's The Rock out of nowhere. And The Rock and Cody then Randy Orton and Cody then lay the boots into The Rock. A segment rating of 83 here as Cody and Randy Orton attack The Rock. A a mad sort of angle here as Randy Orton comes out to seemingly position himself alongside Cody. Then after this, Cody and Randy Orton cut a promo where they talk about the fact that WWE has changed and they need to change with it, and they need to make the future for WWE something more about who the best is rather than who's got the most power. And Orton says that as the inheritor of evolution, he is creating Evolution 2.0 with himself in the position of Ric Flair and Cody in the position of Triple H. And they vow to find their Batista and Orton to join them in the coming weeks. A segment rating here of 95 as Evolution 2.0 is launched by Randy Orton and Cody. So at this point, everything has gone very, very well for us. We're looking like we're in very good shape, but we just need the main event to deliver. And it doesn't really. A segment rating of 77, hoping for so much more than this. The creative finish was a failure here. Then this was positioned to me as almost a dead cert to be successful. Instead, it wasn't. And I guess if we hadn't put that creative finish on, this would have gone over 80 as a segment rating. Punk defends the title for the first time in 21 minutes and 9 seconds, getting the clean victory over Roman Reigns with a Pepsi plunge. Punk had a 76 in performance. Roman Reigns in 86. This should have been a better segment, and I'm really, really gutted that that creative finish was a failure and affected the rating for this match. That we'll see in a minute whether or not the overall show rating is hugely affected by it. It's not a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. One of the best again in company history. It'll certainly be top 10, I would think, up to this point. But it could have been so much more. The reason why Punk wins this one, look, Roman Reigns, we said we're going to be realistic about how many appearances he's going to make. Roman Reigns is going to have 3-4 matches a year. Maybe a few more than that because we also had him in a qualifying match for the Rumble, and we had him in I think a 10-man tag match during the tour for WrestleMania. But ultimately, not very often, and so Punk is going to be the one who's around more regularly and will hold this title going forward. And to finish the show, then, an overall rating is just 70. I thought it would be higher. I really did, and it would have been had that last match been a better match, because we had the Gunther Randy Orton match, which was an 82, with the Cody Rock match, which was an 84. If Punk and Roman Reigns had done an 85 or an 86, I think it would have been better. We also had that great kind of angle where Cody and Orton announced the foundation of Evolution 2.0. But I think what this really shows is that we don't have enough storylines that are rated hot or above going on. That's one major problem that we're really struggling with at this point. But also that it's just going to be really hard without the depth of roster to make this company as good as it should be. It's going to be really hard for us to kind of to live up to the level of show that we need to. We've lost popularity in 24 regions, increased our popularity in 7, but this is still disappointing. A much, much better show than night 1 of WrestleMania. May even be the best show we've done so far. I'm not sure if it's better or worse than Saturday night's main event. Maybe a little bit less, I don't know. But ultimately, a good show, but just not enough for the size of company that we are. So, addressing the locker room, I think I'm going to give Cody a compliment. I'm going to give Logan Paul some encouragement, because obviously he was angry with losing that match that he had to lose. Roman was very good in the ring, and I think we also give Randy Orton a compliment because of the great angle that he and Cody did. Pete Dunne suffered a broken nose, which can be worked through. He's going to be having that for 7 days. I mean, financially, a very, very good show indeed. Popularity recap, though, this is a real concern. This is going down to 76. And that might be the kind of thing that leads us to lose our huge size. We'll be looking at that in the next episode. Let's go to the media scrum. WWE noticeably lacking in hot storylines. I'm going to say storylines take time to build properly because honestly, that is one of the problems we've got. And I have now kind of got into a rhythm of understanding how this is going to work in terms of touring. I was worried too much about advancing each of the stories on regularly during the tours, and I've realized during this tour that I don't need to do it at all. In fact, I could not do any advancement of the story during the tour and still the story would retain its heat. So that's going to help going forward. Is the long reign for the Street Profits on the cars? Let's just give them that. We saw Obafemi have an off night tonight, so he didn't perform very well in that match either. Just going to say it was a one-off. Here we go. According to comments made by The Rock, he used his creative control to block the booking of a proposed match that he was meant to be in. If this is true, are you angry that he did this? I'm just going to go, it's a natural part of the booking process. It's a total non-story. As the Street Profits won the tag team titles tonight, does this herald the start of a strong push? I'm just going to say the same thing as I said before. James Johnson and Wade Barrett really don't like each other. I'm just going to say that. Well, that went down well backstage. Unfortunately, Pete Dunne sustained a minor injury. Your thoughts? Say we're back in no time. And that is the end of WrestleMania Night 2. A tad disappointing, mainly because of that main event finish, but in general, a far better event than Night 1. Look, we've got some work to do to make this series successful, and we're not quite there yet. There's still, I think, a few months yet till we get to really rolling with this series. But that is all we've got time for today, and hopefully things will improve. Starting with our next episode, which I think is back to the men, but I'll get to that in a week's time. For now, thank you for watching today, and we'll catch you next time.